The Morningstar website has so much good information about programming and setting them up, MIDI connections and all that kind of thing. There's a really good PDF on the website. I do recommend if you need to replace a switch, but I am one of those guys that just likes having a video to watch. So I have a project coming up where I need to pull this thing completely apart. So I figured, what better reason than that to make a video to show you guys, if you want to do the same thing, how to do so. Tools that we're going to need. I use an adjustable spanner. You can use an actual spanner. With these, you can probably just use pliers. They're not that tight, they're not that hard to undo. And a number 1 Phillips screwdriver. This is just an iFixit one. Any screwdriver will do. It's not that important what kind of screwdriver you have. So our first step, these Omni ports, we need to take them off. So I'm going to use my spanner. As I said, these are not done up tight from the factory. They shouldn't be done up tight. These are just plastic. I'm going to loosen them off by hand. It's one plastic little collar. That's the thing that's very easy to break. And you tighten them back up. Pull those out. Or you could drop it off the bench and completely lose something. It's a bit of a theme for me doing these projects. Number 1 Phillips. I'm going to just take out both of these screws. Nice and easy. So if you manage to break a switch, it's a very simple and cheap process to do. I'm going to leave these screws in there and just set that aside. So I'm going to assume that number 6 here is our broken one. Oh, there's my face. Hello. So what I suggest is undoing this first. Keep it in there, but have it loose. Now we're going to undo this PCB. Just these 4 screws. I'm going to make sure we don't lose any of those. So that is a big theme for me doing repairs. Drop things. Weight saving. Race car stuff. Okay, now's the tricky part. And this is the reason that I wanted a video, because the very first time I did this, I managed to damage one of these internal trim pots. These are for brightness and contrast of the actual screen. I've never touched them, never needed to touch them. So thankfully, it's not a problem that one of them is damaged. But to save you guys the trouble, I thought I'd do this video. So the trick that I have found is some careful maneuvering. So first things first, we're gonna bend it this way, not too far. And right here is our ribbon cable that connects the top and the bottom. So all the switches go directly onto here. This connects the top with the screen and everything in there to the bottom, which has all of our connections, power supply, etc. So in here, we see this ribbon cable. I am going to come in here at this angle and pull that ribbon cable out. You don't have to. I just find it a lot easier to not have to worry about that ribbon cable. Now we want to slide it across to the left this way. And once I get this out, I'll show you what I'm looking for. So right here, that standoff, I want to try and line that up in between the 2 DIN connectors for that MIDI. That's the way I found that just goes in and out so incredibly easily. Now the most annoying part of the whole process, removing this connector from the board. You just cannot get in there very easily. If you've got little pliers, you might be able to get in there. Just wriggling that backwards and forwards. Pulls that out. Unscrew the rest of this by hand. So here's our switch. This is going to be grounded. I don't have a multimeter to check right now, but I'm assuming this will all be grounded. So your black and red cables do actually matter which one goes where. So line them up. These are a dime a dozen. They're all going to be pretty much exactly the same. With a multimeter, just check. If you tap here in the black one or here in the red one, do either of them make contact? If so, make sure if the black one is the one that has contact, which probably will be, make sure that you solder your black lead to the same one that has contact on your other new one, and then it'll all go back together again. Exactly the same process as the reverse. So I'm going to put that in there first. Make sure if you're doing more than one, make sure your position here lines up with the right spot on the board. And then our final assembly. So remember to have a bit of an angle on there. And we're going to use the threads of those standoffs to tell us we're in the right spot. Do not forget about this ribbon cable. It's a bad plan. So one of my Footswitch cables has just managed to get pinched under there. Pop this back in, ribbon cable back in. Shift it leftwards. That's right, actually. We're not going to shift it leftwards. We're going to hold the PCB in the right spot, and we're going to shift the base in leftwards. Or we're just going to push the PCB to the right. Now leave these loose. Put one or two in. Screw these back in. It's way looser than I thought it was. We just want to do the last quarter turn. We really don't need to do them tight. You will snap those plastic jacks and threads. You'll rip them to pieces. So don't do that, because it's a much harder repair to resolder that to the board, unless you have an SMT station, which I don't even know if that is SMT. It might just be a pain in the ass to do by hand. And we're gonna go back on. All right, so that is how to do a switch repair on an MC6 or potentially an MC8 or MC3. I don't know the process for removing that PCB for an 8 or 3. I don't know the little catches to worry about, which way to line things up, but the process will be pretty much the same. And that's it. Thanks, guys.